position, and Patricia's a defensive coach. Quadri Diggs, another safety, was really good. He let him go, so he can't even keep the defensive players who are stars. It's bad news. It's not working. Now, I've said this before, and I think it's something I don't say a lot, but I think it's so valuable. Andy Reid is a teacher. So all of Andy Reid's assistants flourish. All of them. Like, all of them are good. Belichick's a genius. None of his assistants do well. And that's a real thing. Proximity to genius does not make you smarter. But proximity to a teacher does. The best high school and college teachers I ever had were not the smartest. They were often the most compassionate. They took time with me. They dealt with me. My smartest teachers were never my best teachers. Were they patient? Did they listen? Could they pick up on my insecurities, my flaws, I was ADD before that was a term. Matt Patricia stood next to a genius, and yet Charlie Weiss did, and he didn't work, and Matt Patricia did, and he's not working, and Josh McDaniels tried head coaching, and what are you seeing? It's not working. And often the issue with Belichick assistants is they bring the ego of the dynasty without really the results. Belichick and Brady are 95% of the reason that puppy worked. And there are assistants that get 1 or 2% or 1 or 2. But Josh McDaniels is just coaching to score. Belichick, I've been told multiple times, has to step in and go, it's about winning the game, not about scoring. Take a knee, run, eat the clock, stay in bounds. That's not to say that Brian Flores, who I do think Brian Flores appears to be rare. I get the football intellect with the seriousness with some humility. So far in the 5 or 6 times Brian Flores has been interviewed, I've seen no ego. Josh McDaniels was all ego. I like Charlie Weiss. A lot of ego. Remember at Notre Dame, I've got a schematic advantage over these coaches. Matt Patricia had another incident this week. Watch the ego during this question.
Is there something in your coaching that maybe isn't happening enough in the fourth quarter for you to close out games?
Yeah, I don't think so, Mike. I think I got probably one of the biggest plays in the fourth quarter in the history of the NFL where I think I did a pretty good job. So I don't think it's that.
Oh, God, you don't work at Barstool Sports. That's a great answer for Barstool Sports. That's a great answer for a talk show host. You can be glib and funny and a smart aleck. That's not what you say at a podium if you're like a $3 million NFL head coach representing a city and stuff. No, I think I had one of the great plays of all time. Belichick made that decision. You do get that. Like, that's a bad answer. Adam Gase does that. People I like, Charlie Weiss, would sometimes do that. What you're seeing with the Belichick assistants way too often is you get all the arrogance that comes from a dynasty. I mean, let's be honest about dynasties. When the Lakers had their dynasty, it was egos that broke it up. It was Phil Jackson's ego and Shaq and Kobe and Jerry West and Pat Riley. And egos are okay. And guys have bigger ones than women, like we have egos and stuff. But when you leave the dynasty, okay, what worked for Pat Riley in New York and Miami wasn't the ego. It was the work, and it was the humility to know, oh, my God, I'm bringing none of the glamour of the Lakers. I've got to build this thing up. And I just think Patricia feels a lot like Josh McDaniels, whereas you're getting all the arrogance. And what's funny about Andy Reid's guys, Matt Nagy, I don't see the arrogance. John Harbaugh, I don't see the arrogance. Doug Peterson, I see vulnerability. I don't see the arrogance. And maybe it's because Andy doesn't have, 7 Super Bowl trophies or whatever. But once again, I see the answers, and it's like, this is Josh McDaniels. That's a bad answer. Like, dude, you're 9-24. You can't even keep your defensive stars. You should be currying favor with the media. You should be humble so you get an extra week or 2 to save your job, not being difficult and tough guy and glib. And let us do that. Let us be the dopes. Let us be glib. Greg Cosell.